Hello and welcome back to another episode of Generation Films. My name is American Ben. Among the many races in 40k, many would bravely fight for their cause, and many would be happy to die a glorious death in battle against the enemy. Some of them even enjoy war, live for it. But only one race is made up of pure, unlimited evil. Only one race not only enjoys killing, but lives and breathes it by inflicting the most pain possible upon its enemies, upon innocents. Of course, I talk of the Dark Eldar, the Drukhari, the demonic barbarians of 40k, the corrupted kin of the Craftworld Eldar. Today we cover their flaws and advantages. As always, if you enjoyed the video, remember to hit that subscribe button and notification bell so I continue to have a place to live. We start with their advantages. In the case of the Drukhari, their culture is their fuel. It is their conditioning. Their very social contract is what makes them strong. If you watched our video on the Eldar, you would know that Eldar souls are at risk of being consumed by the god of chaos Slaanesh, and so they follow the path in order to restrain their predisposition for extreme emotions and indulgence, something that takes strict discipline. And yet when Slaanesh rose from the hubris of the ancient Eldari Empire, the true heathens among the Eldar, hidden within the webway of the warp, did not fall victim to Slaanesh in the same way. They thus continued on basking in their depravity, but Slaanesh still manages to haunt them, slowly draining their souls away into the warp. And the only way for the Dark Eldar to combat Slaanesh's pull is to be as evil and savage as possible. The more souls that they torment, the more beings they slaughter, the more they are nourished with power and vitality, and the more their energies are strong enough to hold back Slaanesh. They derive their sustenance from suffering, and as an individual Drukhari ages, he needs to inflict even greater suffering upon others to sustain his soul. And so Drukhari society is a dark world full of death, even between Dark Eldar. There is nothing more pleasurable to the Drukhari than pain and suffering, in the same way I am suffering in the heat right now because this building decided not to turn on the air conditioning today, so I apologize for being a sweaty mess. Where other alien races might feast on war and live to spread throughout the galaxy, it is the very worst part of war, the brutality of it, that the Dark Eldar love most. So their society from top to bottom is overrun with violence and brutality. They have thus, over the course of millennia, turned their population into an army of instinctive warriors, experts in battle, knowing only conflict. And no cruelty can turn them back. No amount of blood can make them flinch. They march into battle with the confidence of gods, the battlefield being almost a reprieve from the gladiatorial arenas of death that operate as a medium of lighthearted entertainment in Dark Eldar culture. An individual Drukhari can fight with almost any weapon available to him, and will murder a foe without hesitation. If one did not learn to do such things, he would quickly be killed in Dark Eldar society. Their culture is a Xeno-eat-Xeno world, void of compassion or mercy. It is entirely sociopathic, and only the most evil survive it. You might think they in some ways are akin to the orcs in the way their culture conditions them for battle and bloodshed, but no. The Dark Eldar don't just live for battle, they live to gruesomely torture and mutilate their enemies. And nor are they the least bit simple-minded. No, they are very intelligent, and so their society is not one of brutes, but of careful, calculating, deeply malevolent killers. Every corner, every street in their society is beset with cruelty and murder, and so their paranoia is extreme, their senses acute, they see and track everything, and they are always ready to kill. Once you understand Drukhari culture, from there you can understand how everything about their society plays out, including their technology, which is of course developed to exact supreme punishment on their foes. Their imaginative creations are designed to brutalize living things. They have acid-tinged whips, soul traps, and dark light weapons that fire streams of dark matter particles that can vaporize targets and will always, at the very least, damage the eyes of even the most well-armored enemies. Many of their weapons, though, are built more to inflict pain than to just merely kill. They build lightweight blades that are capable of cutting through ceramite armor, as a Drukhari warrior swings over and over again to sever the body parts of his foes. The pride of Dark Eldar tech might be their array of aircraft that rain down from the sky like hell descending from the heavens that their unsuspecting enemies pray to. As such helpless victims pray to their gods for grace, The devil comes instead to deliver such excruciating pain and suffering that the very existence of such beings' gods comes into question. Raiders are the most common skimmers, lightweight vehicles that can pierce through large enemies with their sharp-bladed fins, all the while maneuvering through incoming attacks with their supreme agility. Reavers are the Dark Eldar soldiers who have mastered the art of inflicting death at high speed. They're actual beings, not technology, but they are inseparable from their jet bikes, another agile vehicle and one that is capable of such velocity that only Drukhari with the most keen senses can pilot them. All Eldar are predisposed to extreme indulgence and vice, and speed is no exception. A Drukhari is at his best when soaring across the battlefield on a jet bike, slicing apart opponents with the bike's blades and obliterating others with its firepower. The victims never even knowing what hit them. The Razorwing might be the fastest in-atmosphere vehicle in the entirety of Eldari history, and yet these fighters are used for heavy support, using their assortment of missiles to decimate enemies and enemy targets. The Razorwing has missiles that freeze enemies, missiles that unleash toxins into the atmosphere, and even missiles that release energy blasts that decapitate enemies in proximity. Then, Void Raven bombers are capable of supersonic speed and superior maneuverability, and can at the same time hide the sound of its engines with sonic dampers in order to stealthily unleash catastrophic bomb attacks on targets. Okay, one thing you have to know about me, and I should think twice about telling you this, is that I do not do witches. I have no fear of supernatural horrors, aside from witches. It's a no-go on them. Do not screw with me when it comes to witches. My friends know that if they prank me with witches, friendship over. Good witches are out too, but evil witches are definitely the worst. And evil, sadistic Drukhari witches, well, I'd sleep with them. The Dark Eldar have organizations called cabals, which are like evil fraternities of Drukhari barbarians that make up much of the organization of Drukhari society. And these cabals sponsor various witch cults, the witches of which are wicked to the core. They are the gladiators of the Dark Eldar world, famed for the blood-splattering bashes of glorious gore they put on in arenas to the delight of Drukhari denizens. But these witches are centerpieces on the battlefield as well. They wield a variety of special weapons that can whip, extend, retract, split in two, and more. They are experts in knife fighting as well, and can kill oversized foes with tiny blades, and they do it all in style, pirouetting across the battlefield. Think Bayonetta, but many, many Bayonettas all over the battlefield. No enemy is too much for a witch. They've been known to dismember orc war bosses, Tyranid hive tyrants, and yes, even the Adeptus Astartes themselves, ripping their heads from their bodies and hanging them on their walls as trophies, and yes, I would still sleep with them. But the most demonic and yet essential members of Dark Eldar society are the HAEMONCULI.
That's not the correct pronunciation.
Well, that's what it looks like it's pronounced like, but if I am wrong about the pronunciation, please do let me know. Anyway, the HAEMONCULI. Van Gogh worked with paint, Donatello with clay, Picasso with LSD. But the HAEMONCULI work with flesh. They are the lords of pain, the master torturers. They reshape bodies as well as souls. Given a canvas or body, the HAEMONCULI can create a masterpiece. In other words, they sculpt bodies into new forms, adding parts from other creatures or even weapons onto the canvas. Dark Eldar happily submit themselves for modification, emerging a far more terrifying creature than they were before. The result of the work of the HAEMONCULI is an endless assortment of horrors added to the battlefield. For instance, there are racks, walking instruments of torture that stay by their master's sides as their assistants. Then there may be no weapon of war more representative of the Drukhari than the Talos pain engines, which are common sights on the battlefield and the highest art of the HAEMONCULI. These giant, semi-sentient mobile torture devices are outfitted with various surgical apparatus and other weapons designed to make victims experience incredible, well, pain. The pain engine uses its anti-gravitic motor to glide across the battlefield and uses its razor-sharp claws to snatch enemies and then incinerate them from the inside out. Its blades slice through the bones of those unlucky enough to be in its way, and the engine saves certain body parts to later be converted into elixirs and potions, and yes, I would still sleep with them. Then there are grotesques, giant lobotomized beasts, the original forms of which were pumped with hormones and all sorts of steroids and chemicals by the HAEMONCULI. With claws and cleavers, they terrorize the battlefield and do not stop killing until given the order to do so. If they are not ordered to cease, this army of Dwayne Johnsons will go on slaughtering indefinitely, even if all that is left is other Drukhari. Outside of the homunculi's list of horrible creations, the Dark Eldar have plenty of other foul creatures as well, such as mandrakes, which are basically ghosts that can pull themselves into any region of space-time and plunge their claws and teeth into flesh. The final advantage is tactics. Unexpectedly, the Drukhari are actually quite cunning in battle. They never attack enemies directly, instead utilizing their mobility and speed combined with the element of surprise to attack their targets. And after such quick attacks, they withdraw and let the enemy bleed out a bit before repeating, slowly wiping out their foes. The Dark Eldar almost never leave themselves open to attack, staying spread out in battle and never bunching up in one place. In large battles, they implement a strategy called wave attacks, in which they organize their ranks into units with different tactical capabilities, and then launch their attack in sequence with each group of specialists assaulting a target in a way that suits their capabilities. As soon as one wave is finished, the next comes, stripping the enemy's defenses more and more in each stage until they're weakened enough for the final assault. Okay, good news here. There are flaws to be had in the case of the Dark Eldar, but just one point first. Unlike in the case of the Craftworld Eldar, Slaanesh will not be listed as a flaw. This is because while Slaanesh may haunt the Dark Eldar as well, and still threaten their souls, what we are judging in this series is strength. And as such, I have to conclude that the dynamic the Drukhari have with Slaanesh, while not fun, has led them to become infinitely fearsome Xenos, and powerful ones at that. When it comes to the Drukhari, the most obvious flaw they have is numbers. Eldar in general aren't good at reproducing as their bodies have long gestation periods, so most Drukhari are grown artificially rather than born, though there are rare cases of natural Drukhari births, and such beings are known as the Trueborn and are highly valued in Dark Eldar society. But anyway, the Dark Eldar rose from the population of Eldar who were in their webway home of Kamora when Slaanesh consumed the souls of all Eldari. Thus, they were never that big of a group to begin with. Next, unlike their Eldar counterparts, the Dark Eldar do not pursue their psychic potential. They use some psychic technology and creatures in their ranks, but they do not use psychic powers themselves, as doing so would make them more vulnerable to Slaanesh. Psychic powers aren't an essential component of a powerful alien army, but when you're competing against other Xenos in 40k, you need every advantage you can get. And not utilizing their natural psychic ability here is a disadvantage. Finally, the Dark Eldar are not unified at all. There is some good that comes from this as different Drukhari cabals grow stronger from the competitive environment in their society. However, it's not a positive that different Dark Eldar factions will frequently betray and murder each other. They are forced to come together at times for mass slaughters of common targets, as they need to inflict such suffering to survive, but one Drukhari cannot trust another. And one must wonder if the Dark Eldar were more united, if they would be one of the more dominant races in 40k. Okay, it's time to rate the Dark Eldar on a scale of 1 to 5. Click out there to do it. Then leave a comment below letting me know what you think of the Drukhari. That's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Hit the notification bell. For now, my name is American Ben. I'll catch you next time. Peace.